y'all still kept some of your land, and that's something that can be passed on generation to generation.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I know when I was coming up, I used to be surrounded by great local musicians that people probably wouldn't never really not even know if I mentioned their names, like Willie Hill, that was he had Inspired Productions where he was doing a lot of recording, and Wayne Key, John Key, those Chip Sharon, all of those people. But during that point in time in life, they would impress upon new artists. Look, you got to learn the business. They would tell you, read this business, this music, this book of business, music or whatever. I forgot the title of it. But they would impress for you to read that. They made you hone your skills. When you sat down and auditioned for them, it was a real audition. I mean, if you wasn't bringing it, I saw one guy one time try to join. It used to be soundtracks with Mr. McLaughlin in Durham.
Right.
He went there to audition for him, and Wayne Key and the rest of them, they was playing Harold Brown, just playing the music, and the guy got up there singing, and they listened to him for about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and then they started talking. Then they started packing up their equipment. They didn't even, because he didn't have a skill together.
Right.
It got to a point where it was like, you have to respect this. You have to learn this. You have to treat it as though, you want to be true to being a musician, not just somebody that's going to get up here and come unprepared, because our time is valuable. So when you step in front of us, you got to be ready. The only way you could be that way is you had to hone your skills. You had to go through the times where I thought I didn't get paid a dime, but was offered a chicken sandwich. That used to be a bad thing in the club. If you look out there in the crowd, there's a band, and the owner started trying to offer food and drinks. That meant you won't get paid that night. But you understood that this is a process, and it made you humble to it. It made you respect the music. It made you respect profession, because anything such as that, when it comes to music, you have to sacrifice for it. It'll make you suffer. It'll be days.
Yeah, and even when we lose spots, I mean, like I said, Talk of the Town has been empty for ages now. We hope somebody will come in there and take that spot over and use it for something productive, and maybe even a jazz spot. And like I said earlier, while you were on the line, before we brought you into the conversation, I mean, that's one of the things that really hurt to me. Definitely, I was devastated by the one guy that lost his life, and definitely devastated by those that were injured during the fire. But as you remember, Tony, those places were very popular for the music community. Weeping Radish, French Quarters, all of those places that were in that place that is now a burnt down rubble. Those were places that a lot of those bands that you're talking about, they performed in those places. Master Tracks would play there. Remember the comedy club that was next door? A lot of great comedians that are now nationally known would be there. But I know that Liquid Pleasure and Master Tracks and Stanley, so I remember seeing Nina perform there before she was even married to her husband. I remember she basically pulled him out, and as folks will sometimes tease her about, she basically gave him a private concert. The rest of us were just in the audience. Right. Because she pulled him pulled him up to the front and basically sang to him. This was when she was definitely, she's a seasoned veteran singer now. She would never do that now, but this was when she was a young lady herself and didn't know all the rules of what you should or should not do. But I just remember as a young man, and I was a young man back then myself. I think she might have me by a year or two, but I was a young man, and I'm sitting there going to myself like, wait a minute, you just pulling this man in who I don't know from Adam, and you singing to him. You do know that the rest of us are here.
Right. But like you say, that's what you do when you're young in the business of it. But it's like I miss that. I miss Sam with that place. He did a lot for us, because when we had no other gigs, Sam would provide for bands during the time of when they didn't have these college gigs or these corporate. He'd always have an open door for you to make a little bit of money versus no money at all. By performing at the Talk of the Town. So he he did a lot. He did more for musicians than people realize. He did a lot. He kept a lot of bands afloat. Had it not been for Sam and the Talk of the Town, a lot of bands would have went under.
And not just bands, but let's be honest. Sam, if we really want to be honest about it, yes, we're glad that Durham is growing. We're glad that Durham is thriving as a downtown location. But we remember when downtown, you literally, as my friend said, you could roll somebody through downtown and they wouldn't hit anybody. Like you literally could just, my friend Ray Pascal will say, you literally could just roll them down the street, and if it was after 5 o'clock, they would not hit a soul because it was that quiet after a certain time. But you know, there were certain places, whether that was Talk of the Town, whether that was later on the Palace, which is still around but in a different location, whether that was even Joe and Joe's, which is now Bull McCain's, but there were just certain isolated spots, but they were not that many. It was not the concentrated area of nightclubs and restaurants and everything that it is now. And Sam was the forefront of that. So if we're going to be honest, if they ever decide to honor the true legends of Durham that helped Durham's revitalization happen, they definitely need to. If anybody deserves a statue, in my mind, if they ever did get around to giving statues to people, I hope that Sam is on that list because Sam would definitely deserve it for all that he did in terms of just encouraging the downtown development. And he was part of DDI and part of some of the Chamber of Commerce and other things. So he was at the table. So he heard even some of this development that we're seeing now. He knew about that way before it. I remember talking to him and Dwight Yarborough, and they were telling me, y'all need to look out. And even Roger Brown, who's around now still, but Roger and them, they were like, you need to watch out. This is going to be blowing up. Y'all need to. And, you know, half of us, like we've said before, we don't listen. We don't listen to our elders. Half of these great folks were saying to us, y'all need to buy some property. Y'all need to do this. I would say whether it's me, whether it's Brett, whether it's some others that heard those conversations, we didn't listen, and that's why we're still sitting there trying to struggle along and do what we can now to make our own inroads in a different way. But if we had listened, we probably would have been in a much greater position. But, you know, we oftentimes listen to our elders, but we don't really listen. But and I've heard great elders talk to me, whether it was Sam, whether it was Baba Chuck, who is now passed on too. But, I mean, a lot of these elders were telling us about these things a long time before they happened.
Yeah, I know they had a thing at Haytime. They had a lot of bands from a long time ago that they access on the website too. They have the pictures of the people like the Modulations and the Rachi and John Snails, and I mean all of those are legends that we kind of stood. They allowed us to stand on their shoulders now. Because they formulated a whole lot about Durham that people don't realize as far as the different people. Even Doug Clark and the Hot Nuts. I mean, in Doug's prime, he had major people that have went on to have major impacts in music that was big into getting his band, you know, because he was known. But a lot of times people don't look at it from that standpoint. They don't understand that you don't have to. There's a lot of people that are doing very well musically and better than some that have a record label, a record deal. Because when your record is gone, we did a show in Atlanta, and we were the opening act for Morris Day and the Time. And Morris Day and Time did a real good show. But at the end of it, the people that they were playing for, they only wanted to hear Jungle Love. That was it.
Right.
For the people that they were playing for. Now, when you take another band, we were a variety band, so of course it was an easier win because we could do Kool in the Gang, we could do all these artists because regardless to what we played, it was going to be a hit that you liked from somebody. Right. You know, so it's like as music, the music business is you can make just as much if more money in the music business, not in record artists. Just singing covers. I mean, for a while when the Braxtons was really doing well on the show and they was talking about Trina, I think it was, they kept referring to Trina's band that she was in, and they was laughing at it. They was like, why do you keep singing in that band? It was a cover band. But that cover band was simply irresistible, which is one of the biggest, probably the hottest bands in our little market. But it's got Ronnie Garrett, who's from Durham, that was the music director for Tyler Perry's comedy, his shows that he had, as well as He used to work with LaFace Records and a whole lot of other people. That's the MD of Simply Irresistible. So these people are looking at, sometimes people look at it and they don't realize the amount of money that goes through the hands of these people that are just cover bangers that have all they've done all their life. Kenny, Melvin, Leonard, Johnny White, all of these people, they're able to sustain themselves. And you're not really able to find too many records they did. Liquid Pleasure did have a situation in which we didn't even know about it. We started, once we put our website up, this guy started contacting me from China, and he's like, look, do you have the album that Liquid Pleasure did on wax? I was like, on wax? No, don't wax no more. I was like, why? He said, because on the underground in China, it's hot. It's like some of the best songs playing. And I'm like, what? And we actually ended up having a record label that wanted to redistribute that album, that paid to do it, for the license to get the rights to it. But it's like, it's happening just because you don't know of something that's in the States. I was fortunate enough to, when I was with Rise, I actually, with Willie Hill, he had signed us to his record label at Inspire. And Norman Connors came and produced the group I was in. Well, Norman Connors, his group, they get together, some of his guys from his group just go over and play in China. They formed the group, and they was doing just fine. So it's like looking at it's just like in basketball, when you look at these players and you say, okay, they're not in the NBA, but they're playing over China. They're doing well. They're making good money. They might not be known like they are here.
But, yeah, they're making some real good money, that's for sure. I know some people that have played, even some of my Marquette folks that have gone and played overseas, and definitely some from the ACC. And like you said, they're not doing bad, and sometimes they even wind up coaching and doing other things in those leagues. Sometimes we'll hear about them when they do that competition that goes on in the summer. I forget the name of it. I think it's like TBT or something like that. But it's basically a combination of pros and other teams, and they put together teams, and that's when we'll sometimes hear about how good they're doing in other places. We're getting ready to wind up. I think I've only got about 2 minutes, and usually we wind up with them closing thoughts and everything, but I do want to let folks know, because I'm going to try to have this young lady call either next week or the week before. But speaking of stuff that's going on in this month, Denim Day is also in April. It's April 24th. It is an event in which people are encouraged to wear jeans, specifically denim jeans, to raise awareness about rape and sexual assault. So I do have a young lady that I'm talking to about that is going to hopefully be with us next Monday, in addition to Dante Strabino, who's been very much involved with as a labor organizer with the teacher strike and things of that nature. So I'm hoping to have both of those on the show next week. But if there's any parting thoughts, whether it's about prison reentry or just about work or life in general, that you would like to share with the audience as we wind it down in about a minute, or two. Do you have any parting thoughts that you would like to share with people, Tony?
Yes, I would like to encourage everybody to definitely come out to the Resource Fair in Chapel Hill at the Hargrave Community Center, 216 North Robertson Street, from 10 to 1. I think it'll be something that you'll find very enlightening to see actually what's taking place in reentry and how we're all working together to try and bring about a successful reentry of people who are formerly incarcerated and only want a second chance. So please come out and check us out and continue to support local music also.
Yeah, definitely. And to add to that, I would definitely say, pay attention to what's going on around our world. With all the tragedies that are happening and everything, we never know when something could happen that could impact us. We saw that here in Durham with the gas explosion. We saw that with what was going on with Archie. I also was going to mention that even though it's a course of life that we expect people to have, but one of our top music promoters here in the area, Suleiman, and his wife's father just passed away. I mean, he went out, apparently he was just doing yard work and had a stroke. So he was just doing regular yard work, had a stroke, and apparently passed away. I believe that was Saturday that happened. It was either Saturday or Friday, but it's been very recently. So definitely, we never know from day to day how we're going to be impacted on a regular basis. So definitely just try to live your life thinking about that, the fact that, while we're here, we have to do positive things on our planet. So just try to be doing positive things for every day that you have, because every day is a gift.